everybody, it's Dr. Doug, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about improving intimate relationships, how to heal the split between the conscious and the unconscious like a pro, 10 easy steps. So we're going to actually take some really seemingly complicated language and we're going to make it super simple and helpful. I'm going to start by telling you a story. So let's imagine that there's two people who are intimate partners and they're having a awesome day. It's Sunday. They've been to the shopping mall. They had some pizza. They went on a hike. Maybe they went to a movie. Everything is going great. In fact, they're looking forward to some hot sex when they get home tonight. And all of a sudden something happens. Somebody gets their feelings hurt. We don't know what happened. And one person goes really quiet. When that person goes quiet, that's called a mood. What that does to the other person, because they don't know if the mood is actually real or imagined, that they go silent and they go into a mood. So you have two people who are in a situation where each is suffering from a mood, wondering what the other person is doing and if they caused it or if they're in a mood and who got their feelings hurt. And it's all a mess. One person says, you know what, I really want to try to break the ice here, but I know it's either he or she that whenever I do that, I don't do it the right way, I make a mess. I'm really scared to bring it up. So that person just holds it down until somehow, at some point, someone says something and the other person says, oh, you see, I can never talk to you. And it's a huge fight. And the other person says, I'm just trying to bring something up. And the person says, you ruined a day already. Why couldn't we just have a nice day? And the other person says, I just wanted to talk to you. You always want to talk to me. You always do this. This is awful. I can't handle it. I don't have time for this. Doors slam, phones ring, people are talking to their friends, and all of a sudden one person takes an Uber and is gone. Wonderful date turned to poop. Why does that happen? I know we've all been there. I know it's happened to you. Dr. Doug is here to try to tell you, I think, why it happens and what you can do about it. That's why I'm really encouraging each of you to get yourself a therapist. I'd actually like it if you got a psychodynamic therapist. I'll talk to you in a future YouTube about what that is. But it's really important you have someone you can talk to help you work out some of your old patterns that might be passive aggressive, that might involve you fantasizing about what the person is doing, that may have you move into black and white thinking way too quickly and being explosive. All of these methods of relationship are things we learned as little kids to protect us from getting hurt when we were little, but they're totally obsolete now. They serve no real purpose, but we don't know how to get out of our own mental prisons. The therapist gently helps to expose those patterns, those themes that are happening in your life and then be happening between you and the therapist. So to break those patterns, to create new neurons in the neural network, new cognitive constructs, and new feeling approaches that are so important for having successful relationships. Everything I'm telling you right now is basically an adjunct to your therapy, but I'm more than happy to give you some tips that can work either with your therapy or can lead you into therapy, because all of these tips I'm going to give you, there's 10 of them, are obvious and helpful for everybody. So what went wrong with these two people? Basically, here's an idea, that it's the Garden of Eden motif. Each of us hopes when we meet somebody that it's going to be amazing and that this person is going to satisfy all our missing unmet needs. They're going to basically be mommy, daddy, sister, brother, lover. They're almost as high as gods. And we have all our hopes up because everything tells us this is going to work, this is going to work, this is going to work. What happens when we're in the Garden of Eden is we're not fully real. Because as you know from the myth, someone has to reach up and take a bite of that other apple from that other tree. And what the heck is that apple and that other tree? I'm going to call it, for simplicity's sake, the unconscious, or that part of us that lives inside of us, about which we know very little, but we could know more if you follow Dr. Doug's 10 steps. The person who helped us discover the split between the unconscious and the conscious, his name is Dr. Sigmund Freud. He was a Jew and he lived about 130 years ago. I'll tell you much more about Dr. Freud in future videos. I'm going to look at Freud. from an LGBTQ perspective and an anti-racist perspective that's super progressive and very, very useful today, but that's for a future video. I'll also talk to you about why it's important to understand why it was Jewish people, not necessarily religious Jewish people, but culturally Jewish people who actually developed the beginnings of therapy, why I think that's important, but that's also for a future video. For today, let's have the basic idea that we're actually all of us split in half. I told you about the Garden of Eden, the 2 apples in there. Well, if you think of one apple as, the apple of bliss and of goodness and everything is awesome, but there's another apple, which is the apple of the unconscious, which usually has to do with all of those feelings and thoughts we've learned not to allow. We've repressed them, we've suppressed them, we've hidden them in a dark dungeon underground. So when we're in the early stages of relationship, the problem is we're only looking at the good. And that's called a split or a vertical split. So we want to heal the vertical split in 10 easy steps. So let's look at what actually happened between the 2 people to understand what I mean by the conscious and the unconscious. It looks like they were having a great day. It looks like everything was wonderful, and it went to pot for some reason we don't know. So let's call these 2 people Amber and Mark, and for progressive purposes, let's not say that they're necessarily heterosexual. They could be gender variant. We're just going to give them the names Amber and Mark, and they could be any kind of person. So they're having a nice day together, but they feel a certain type of way. Amber notices that when Mark is with her, sometimes he looks askance, and it looks to her like he's checking out another female. She starts to feel something, maybe anxiety, maybe hurt. She doesn't know, but she's starting to feel a certain type of way. Mark notices that when he goes to reach Amber's hand, she pulls her hand away ever so slightly, and he starts to feel that she doesn't actually really feel attracted to him, and he starts to get a mood. He starts to feel a certain type of way. Amber notices that when Mark is talking to her, he's not listening to what she's saying. He seems distracted and he's on his phone too much. Mark notices that Amber seems to be talking way too much to him about topics he can't quite follow, and every time he tries to interject, she doesn't quite hear what he's saying. In fact, she says the same thing over and over again. Amber wants to go get some popcorn. Mark doesn't like popcorn. He wants to get some cotton candy. Amber doesn't like cotton candy. Amber wants to have a glass of wine. Mark would prefer to have some tequila. They start feeling like they're not on the same page. They're missing each other, even though they're acting all lovey-dovey and friendly and wonderful, and feelings start to take place in each side of them. This is the problem. Because they're split, because of the Garden of Eden problem, neither of them has yet a technology to address those internal feeling states and do something about it. Because of how we were all raised, they just push all of that material down, 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 until it just can't help but explode, because they themselves haven't learned how to work and track their moods, their feelings, their thoughts, and do something about it. All of this is happening privately. This is called private reflexive language, or self-reflection. None of us has learned enough how to do private self-reflection. When we're with somebody we care about, and if we were able to do it, we'd take care of ourselves and be much more able to actually respond in kind to the other person. But like I said, the therapist is there to teach you how to tune in to your darker feeling states, accept them, and deal with them.